Very cool. All right, thank you, Josh. All right, let's go to today's Chumash. Everyone put your machines on mute, please. And join me as we begin to study today's text of today's Chumash. Okay, Vayikra Moshe l'chol ziknei Yisrael. And Moshe called all the elders of Israel, all the elders of the Jewish people. And he says to them, he's giving over God's message. We learned in yesterday's Chumash where Hashem had told Moshe that about the 9 mitzvahs regarding the new month and the Karban Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice. And now in today's Chumash, Moses is telling over to the Jewish people, and he says to them, Mishchu ukchu lachem. He says, listen, if you already have a sheep or a goat, then just go to your farm and get yourself a sheep and a goat. Limishpachaysechem, to your families. V'shachatu haPesach, and you will slaughter the Pesach offering. So, if you have mishchu, then go to your farm and get your own sheep. If you don't have ukchu, purchase, buy one from the market, and a sheep to each household. Okay, I didn't mention, I don't know if Avi's here. Avi just sent me. Thank you, Avi, for dedicating today's class. Yasher Koyach Gadol for making this and all the classes possible. Thank you, Avi. I hope you hear us. Continuing on right or wrong, verse 22. And then once you slaughter the sheep or the goat, you will take a bunch of hyssops. So what was basically Rashi says, it's a kind of a vegetable, a species or a herb that grows in thin stalks. You would take these thin stalks, which is a minimum of like 3 branches, 3 stalks together are called, is what this is. So you're going to take this like a paintbrush, kind of like 3 stalks of blades of something. Utvaltem badam, and then you will dip this paintbrush, these reeds, these 3 stalks, you will dip it inside the blood that's in the cup, right? That because you collected, when you slaughtered the sheep, you collected the blood from the sheep inside the cup. And you will paint it on the doorpost. On the lintel, on the top, and on the 2 sides. By the way, I think I forgot to mention yesterday in Rashi that they put the blood inside the door. It wasn't like today's mezuzahs, I think, that are outside the door, but actually the blood was on the doorway, but kind of behind the door, I believe. And you shouldn't, Rashi explains to us, do 1 dip and then paint 3 paintings, three splotches on your door. But every time you make another splotch on your door, you have to put it back inside the bucket of blood, the paint blood, right? Using the blood. So you're digging in the blood and you're painting it on the doorpost. And as we've learned in the past, the blood was very, very special because these are the Jews who are committing to do the mitzvahs again to Hashem, and they're painting those on their doorposts. And do not leave your homes until the morning. You're not allowed to come out of your houses. So at night, when you sit down to have this meal, right, you slaughter the animal sometime in the afternoon. You take the blood, you put the blood on the doorposts. Go in your houses and lock yourselves in your houses. Do not come out of your door. And Rashi says, why not? Why can't you come out of your door? And he says, once, I heard a lot of people quoting this, or someone quoted this Rashi to me during Corona, actually. He says, once God gives the destroyer permission to destroy, they do not differentiate between a tzaddik and a rasha, between a good person and a bad person. And it's a night that God gave to the mechablim, to the destruction, in order to cause destruction. And therefore, once they're out, you don't want to be caught outside during these people. Trust me, stay in your houses, do not come out and allow whatever destruction is taking place. There's wild demons or whatever it is that are on the loose, and you don't want to be outside, and therefore stay inside your house. Verse 23. And God will pass over to smite the Egyptians. And he will see the blood that's on the doorposts, that's on the lintel, on the 2 doorposts. And Hashem will either interpret the word Pesach as having pity. Hashem will have pity on those in the house and will not kill them, or he'll jump over. The famous translation, the way we learn Pesach, is God will spring over, jump over the house, and go on to the next house. So Pasach Hashem ala Pesach on the door, and God will not allow you the demons or whatever it is that are wreaking havoc during the night. He will not allow them to enter your home. So put the paint on your door, and make sure to stay inside your house. Ushmartem es hadavar. And now this mitzvah that I'm telling you, that you should make the Karban Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice, and have the Seder, you should guard it and keep it l'chak, l'chal, l'vanachad eilam, for an everlasting statute. Forever the Jews should do the Seder of Pesach. It should be something that they'll never be forgotten. They should always keep the Pesach Seder. Now you might ask, if I asked you a question, did they start keeping Pesach from that day on? Or was there any time which they weren't commanded to keep Pesach? And that's what the next verse tells us. You might not know this if you wouldn't see the next verse. When will you start keeping Pesach every year? You start keeping Pesach once you arrive in Israel. Meaning during the desert, the Jews did not keep the holiday of Pesach. They only kept it once. Once they experienced Pesach in Egypt, they went into the desert. The next year, they celebrated the anniversary of Pesach the next year. And for the next, 38, 39 years, there was no obligation for the Jewish people to bring the Pesach. And that's what the verse is telling you. When do I want you to make it an everlasting statute that forever Jewish people to celebrate the holiday of Pesach? This is a mitzvah that's commanded on the Jewish people once they enter the land of Israel. Kind of the desert, I guess, is kind of in limbo in between times, but it's going to start once they arrive in Israel.
That's interesting. I didn't know where they were catching the gefilte fish from, being in the desert all those years.
Why did they gefilte fish in the desert, Alan?
I'm saying Pesach wasn't in the desert. We didn't celebrate it until we were in Israel.
Oh, they didn't have the gefilte fish in the same.
Right. How can they catch the gefilte fish in the desert?
Okay, very good. So, but Hashayitin Hashem lachem, that God will give to Kasher Dibur, like He spoke, Ushamartem es avodah zois, and you will keep this commandment. So here's Moses telling over the Jewish people all the details. You're going to keep Pesach, and you're going to spread the blood on your door. You're going to stay inside your houses. And then your children in Israel, you'll move to Israel, you'll have children, and the children will say to you, they'll say, Dad, what are you doing? Why are you making matzah and maror, right? Why are you doing all these stuff on the holiday every year? And you will tell your children, this is the Pesach sacrifice for God. Asher Pasach, because God jumped over Abatim Bnei Yisrael and He saved the Jewish people in their houses in Mitzrayim in Egypt, and Nokfes Mitzrayim while He was inflicting the plague on the Egyptians. But our houses He saved; they weren't damaged. And they heard, and people were very sad, and they bowed to, they prostrated themselves, they kneeled, and they were very happy. They bowed and they prostrated themselves. So Rashi says, what are they bowing about? And they said, first of all, they're going to be freed. That's a pretty amazing thing there. Moses is telling them finally that it's about to happen, that we're going to go out finally. Number two, also Moses gave them information that they're going to enter Israel, right? You're going to celebrate this when we get to Israel. Wow, we're going to Israel. And third of all, they're going to have sons, because obviously it says your children are going to ask you, why are you doing all this? So that's obviously you have to have children. So a tremendous, this last message from Moses to the Jews, telling them what's going to happen, was a huge celebration you can imagine among the Jewish people. We're going to go free from Egypt finally. It's going to happen. And we're going to enter Israel, and we're going to have children that are going to ask us by the Seder, what is this all for you? And this is what we're going to tell them. And the Jewish people went, and they did like Hashem commanded Moshe, V'Aaron Kain Asu, like God commanded Moses and Aaron. They did everything that Hashem said. We know it wasn't so easy. It was very dangerous to bring the sheep and everything else. But He says, they went and they did everything Moses commanded them. So Rashi asks, what do you mean they did? This is the first day of Rosh Chodesh. They still have 10 days to get it done. How He said not to take the sheep till the 10th day. They still had like a week and a half till they were going to do it. So He says, since they already accepted that they're going to do it, when a person really accepts in his heart that you're going to do it, God considers it as if you already did it. So they didn't actually do it. They still had to wait another 10 days. But by saying, yes, we're in, we're done, it's as if they did it. And not just that, they went and they did it. Rashi learned something else interesting from him. They went and did it, teaches us you get a mitzvah when you go to do a mitzvah. You don't just get a mitzvah for the mitzvah. You get a mitzvah for the walking it takes to go to the mitzvah, right? So if you live in the shul and you walk the shul on Shabbos and you walk a mile away or 2-3 miles, not just you get the mitzvah for going to shul, you get the mitzvah for walking to shul. That's part of the mitzvah. So here we see this from the Torah in this verse that they already got the mitzvah for walking. So they got the mitzvah for the sacrifice because they said they're going to do it even though they never did it yet. Then they got the mitzvah married also for walking to do the mitzvah. And they did everything that Hashem told, that Moshe and Aaron told them to do, like Hashem commanded. It's to tell you to praise the Jewish people. They didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a thing from everything that Moshe and Aaron told them. And Moses and Aaron themselves did it too. And everybody fulfilled the mitzvahs, even though we know, I guess we learned earlier, that wasn't so easy. They did exactly how Moshe and Aaron commanded the Jewish people. And that is the end of today's Chumash. Any questions or comments on today's Chumash before we move on to Tanya? Good? All right, so let's move on to today's Tanya.